What's up, everybody, and welcome to One Man's Opinion. And today we are talking about the 5 horror movies that you haven't seen, but you should watch sometime when you get the time, hopefully this October. Basically what this is it's a list of 5 underappreciated horror movies. Horror movies that maybe you've never heard of, or horror movies that you have heard of but you never got around to watching. Maybe even horror movies that you've heard of and you've watched, but I just felt like I needed to talk about them a little bit. And since we're here at the beginning of October, it's thundering and lightning outside, I've got the perfect mood and setting ready to go. We've got 5 movies coming at you, talking about movies that you need to watch this October. Number 1 coming at you, 2016's The Monster. The Monster is a 2016 film starring Zoe Kazan, whose name I may be pronouncing wrong, and Ella Ballantine. Ella Ballantine. It looks like Ballantine to me. It may be Ballantine. The Monster is probably one that you haven't heard of at all. It wasn't like a big released film that went into theaters or anything like that. Matter of fact, it may have been a straight to DVD and it wasn't a very high budget. You're not going to see any actors in this movie that you're familiar with in all likelihood. However, it's a good film. The Monster is a slow burn of a film, and it really takes on that trapped feeling that you get in really good horror movies. It's a very intimate horror movie. There aren't many characters here. What you basically have is a mother and daughter whose relationship is rocky at best. Their relationship is pretty awful. It's pretty much shot. And the mother is taking her daughter to her father, essentially, is what's happening in this movie. They end up on this long stretch of highway. There's this creature in the woods that is just an animal. It's a beast. It's a monster. How else do you say it? And they are essentially confined to their vehicle, trying to figure out a way off this road, a way out of this mess, and all the while sort of trying to repair their relationship through this survival. And it's a really, really well-acted movie for it to be more of a low-budget, lesser-known film. For 2 actresses that you've probably never heard of, the acting is solid, especially from the little girl. And so often in movies we see that children actors sometimes struggle. Now that can be a problem from directing, or it can just be a lack of experience that a child actor may have. But in this movie, I feel she does an excellent job. It's an intimate story, and it's so confined to this one small space with this creature just stalking and lurking outside of the vehicle the whole time, a menacing presence that you never really get a good look at until the very end of the film. I think it's smart. I think the movie is well written. I think it's well directed. And while it is a slow burn and not a movie that you're going to be jumping at shadows at all night, I think the story, the atmosphere, the acting, and everything in this movie comes together to make a very unique horror movie, and something we don't see a whole lot of ever. This sort of small-scale horror movie that's very intimate, really mostly just 2 actors through the whole movie trying to survive as this monster stalks them and tries to kill them. It's an excellent movie. I highly recommend you give it a shot when you get the chance, if you can find it. Coming in at number 2, this is one you definitely will have heard of, but you might not have seen. Now, some of you probably did watch this movie when it came out. That is The Evil Dead. Now, we're talking about the 2013 Evil Dead. And the reason I put this on the list is because I think a lot of people get hung up and they look at this movie and they say it's a remake of the original, and it's never going to stand up to it. It's never going to stand up to what it was with Bruce Campbell and Sam Raimi, and you're never going to catch that magic again, and so it's no good, and it's not what it was, and so it's no good for me. And I think people have a serious judgment issue on this movie. Now, I will say Evil Dead is by far the darkest movie on this list. This is a dark, horrific, gory film, and if you're not looking for something that's gonna be difficult to watch at times, this is not the movie for you. This is very, very dark horror. And I think he gets a bad rap because people look back at like Army of Darkness and the more recent Evil Dead series, and they say, this movie takes itself way too seriously. Evil Dead's always been funny and lighthearted and all this stuff. And yeah, you've watched way too much of the recent stuff. While the original Evil Dead did have a little tongue-in-cheek and a little bit of a satirical look at the horror genre, it was a serious horror film. It was seriously scary. It was seriously gory. It had a lot of shock value to it, and that's what you get here. I don't mind remakes when the heart is still there. The essence of what made the original so great is still in this Evil Dead remake. It is trying to be scary. It is really giving effort. I don't feel like it's just a cash grab, something that's using the Evil Dead franchise to get money. I think that it's a real attempt to pay homage to the Evil Dead franchise, and if you're an Evil Dead fan and you can handle the gore and the sometimes difficult scenes to watch in this movie, I think you should give this movie another shot. Whether you saw it once and you said, I didn't like it, or you never saw it because you didn't give it that chance, or maybe this is the first time you're ever hearing of it, you need to watch Evil Dead, but be warned when you go into this one. It's the last movie that I can remember in my adult life really scaring me. Like, I remember when I watched that movie and I was like, yeah, this is messed up. And there were legitimately scenes that hung around with me. The way that horror movies used to hang around with you when you were a kid, when you went to bed that night and you could still see it, kind of in your mind, and it kind of made you jump at shadows a little bit. This movie has some of that into it. And if you're looking to get scared, I think Evil Dead is a good route, and it's a movie that has not gotten enough appreciation for when it come out. Honestly, the most upsetting thing to come out of this movie is that it was never followed up on. We never got a movie with Mia, who is the main character in this movie. We never got a movie with her and Ash Campbell. Ash Campbell? Bruce Campbell? We never got a movie with her and Ash together, or we never saw her in the TV series, and I really wish we could get something with those two together. I wish this movie was followed through with and we got some sort of sequel. Hopefully we'll get something out of that one day. Oh, also, by the way, the lead actress, her name is Jane Levy. Thought I should throw that out there. She does a great job. Okay, up next we have the 2020 film Host, which is a movie that I've done a review on this channel. If you want to go check it out for more details about the film, feel free to go ahead and go check that out. This is another one of those smaller scale movies. The whole thing is done via webcam, which is not the type of movie I'm typically interested in, but these guys really knew what they were doing when they set this movie up. It's filmed well. There's a lot of heart. The actors and actresses in this film really give it their all. You can tell they're really invested into trying to make this thing work. And it comes together really well. And also it's a short movie, which I really applaud, because they're not trying to drag this movie out. They had a story they wanted to tell. They had a plot that they wanted to get across. They do that. They get in. You meet the characters. They have moments where you kind of get a good taste for their personality. They all have individual personalities. They all seem like real people. You get a good taste for that. And then the horror sets in. The bad things that happen in that movie kind of start happening, and then from that moment on, you're just one thing after the other, and you're out, and the movie's done. And I think that is absolutely fine. I love a good horror movie that gets to the point, that doesn't beat around the bush too much. Some horror movies are excellent at building tension for a long time, and then having that big crescendo at the end that gets your heart racing, and I do love that. Other movies get right to the point, they get right to it, they tell the story they want to, they do it successfully, and then they let you go on about your day. That's the way this movie is. So if you want kind of a quick watch horror movie, one that's going to kind of satisfy you and surprise you because of the genre that it is, with that kind of webcam-y found footage-ish kind of genre, if you want something that'll really take you by surprise that's in that category, go watch Host. It's a really good movie. All right, coming in at number 4, this is probably the movie that most of you have seen, but I've never had a great opportunity to talk about it on this channel, and I haven't done a review of it. And so I wanted to talk about it just in case there was any of you out there who haven't watched this film yet. I highly, highly recommend it. It's one of my favorites. That is Hush. and it's on Netflix. You can watch it anytime. Hush is a movie about a deaf woman who has a murdering stalker psychopath basically show up to her house, is going to go kill her, and then he kind of realizes that she's deaf and starts to toy with her a little bit, kind of starts to play with his food a little bit, and it is this high tension building movie, kind of this cat and mouse, how am I going to get out of this, that kind of same claustrophobic feeling you get in Monster, where the two girls are stuck in this vehicle trying to find a way out. She is stuck in this house in the middle of the woods with a predator on the outside, and she has to outthink and outsmart this guy if she wants to have any chance of living. Whether she does or not, you'll have to watch the movie to find out. But you talk about a well-written, small, intimate horror movie with great tension, great moments of hope and despair, just kind of this roller coaster ride of a movie with a huge payoff ending that is earned, and it's just so well written. It's so well acted and so well put together. The directing, all of it, is so good, and I couldn't applaud this movie more. It's a movie that I've gone back to and watched several times, just because, not because it's just the scariest movie or anything like that, but because it's just so well written and so well put together. It's such a smart film, and I really, really enjoy it. If you're looking for that horror movie that just is really intelligent, and it's just like, oh man, what's going to happen next? And then, it's not necessarily scaring you to death, but it's kind of got you on the edge of your seat. A really good popcorn horror movie. This is the one for you. Go give Hush a watch on Netflix. Also, that movie, and I keep forgetting to do this, I apologize, but that movie is starring Kate Siegel and John Gallagher Jr. John Gallagher Jr., who you might know from The Belko Experiment, which is another horror movie that I like a lot that you might not have seen, but didn't quite make this list this time because it's, I don't know if you'd even classify it necessarily as a horror movie. It's certainly got a lot of blood. Anyway, John Gallagher is a great actor, and he does a great job in this film. Kate Siegel does an amazing job as well, so go give Hush a watch when you get a chance. Finally, coming in at number 5, probably, maybe, I don't know if I would say this because I didn't really rank these movies, but it might be my favorite on the list. It'd be bad close, is You're Next, which is a 2013 film. From the best of my knowledge, it's 2013. For whatever reason, when I Googled it, it came up 2011. The back of the box says 2013, and a lot of sites say 2013, but other sites say 2011. And I'm not sure why that there's that confusion around when it was released. But from the best I can tell, it's a 2013 film. Starring Sharni Vinson, who is an actress that many of you probably would recognize if you looked her up. You've probably seen her in many other films. Your Next is another one of those just really well-written, really smart movies with one of my favorite horror movie protagonists that I've seen in a long time. Sharni in this movie, her character is so smart and so well-written, and I so appreciate that they took the time to make it believable that this woman would be able to pull off everything that she does in this movie. There is a good backstory, a good understanding of where she comes from that comes to light during the film. And beyond that, she is constantly outthinking the killers in this movie. And I know I'm kind of getting ahead of myself here, and I'm not going to give anything away, but I just couldn't applaud enough her character in this film and the way that she comes to life as the events unfold in front of her. The movie is basically a film about a really rich family that are targeted by 3 killers, each wearing a white animal mask. I think there's a wolf, a pig, and a sheep. Could be a wolf, a pig, and a sheep. Maybe it's a goat. I don't know. But they're basically 3 killers that are stalking this family and just trying to kill them off. There are a lot of twists and turns in this movie, and those are all really good. They're really well earned, and they're really smart, well thought out twists and turns. And just when you think you know where the film's heading, there'll be another one right at the very end of the film. And so if you're wanting another kind of edge of your seat, not necessarily the scariest film, but does have some jump scare moments, kind of a throwback to old slashers just a little bit, except for instead of having this kind of damsel in distress who might fight back a little at the end like you'd get in like a Friday the 13th movie, you have this protagonist female who is just down for it. Like she's ready to fight back as soon as the stuff starts happening. She starts formulating her plan almost immediately, and it's really cool to see. It's such a good, well-written horror movie with those twists and turns I talked about that are really well earned, and I think that it's one of my favorite slasher movies. If you want to call it a slasher, it's pretty close to a slasher, but it's probably one of my favorite slasher horror movies that's been made in the last 20 years. It's really, really good. I really appreciate the writing, the acting. Everything is executed super well. If you haven't seen You're Next, do yourself a favor. Go and watch this movie. I don't think you'd be disappointed at all. It's a lot of fun, great popcorn film, few jump scares here and there, but also just a really good premise that's executed really well. I think you'll be very happy when you watch it. Okay, there's 5 horror movies that you might not have seen. You might have seen a couple of them. Maybe you hadn't seen all of them. That you should probably go watch this October. Go give them a try. I think you'll really enjoy at least most of them. But depending on what your taste in horror movies is, I tried to get kind of shotgun it with a little bit of everything. We got kind of a found footage one with Host. We got a really dark one with Evil Dead. We've got kind of your intimate horror movies with Monster and Hush, and then you've got kind of your more typical slasher movie with You're Next. And so, kind of shotgunned it. I wanted a little bit of everything. Obviously, there are more movies that I could have talked about, and maybe I'll do this again sometime in the future. Maybe next October, I'll pick 5 more movies out of a hat and talk about those a little bit. But let me know what you thought. Let me know if you think that any of these 5 shouldn't be on this list. They're not good. They're crap movies, and I'm an idiot. If you think that, let me know down in the comments below. Whatever it is, just don't get mad about it. Remember that this is just one man's opinion. Thanks.